Secure the bag, secure the bag, secure the bag.
Yeah, I'm about to go off, sound all alarms, I'm going in on y'all. You done kept me too long, but no cause, my back's against the wall. Can't even make my own moves, cause you stay choosing to keep me boxed in. Started at the bottom, but I got a question, why am I still here? I stay grinding, you don't see me, spitting fire, you don't hear me. You stay keeping me at bay, delaying, saying it ain't my season. I can't take it, so frustrated, aggravated. Just like really, I'ma bring this hit so hard that the whole world gon' feel it. As a child, I wanna be like you, but now I'm grown and I'll fight you. Everybody done got theirs, so it's about time I got mine too. Man, I'm done with waiting, lost my patience. I ain't trying to hear your deliberations. What's yours is mine, there's no debating. I want it all for the taking. Now I'm on my teeth out, and I'ma go and do whatever I like. Finally living that high life till I found out it's a flat line, and I'm dead broken with a flat line. Rise and fall of a king. Why I had to lose it all to realize I had everything. Secure the bag. Yeah.
He persuaded a local farmer to hire him, and the man sent him into his fields to feed the pigs. The young man became so hungry that even the pods he was feeding the pigs looked good to him, but no one gave him anything. When he finally came to his senses, he said to himself, "At home, even the hired servants have food enough to spare, and here I am, dying of hunger. I will go home to my father and say, 'Father, I have sinned against both heaven and you, and I am no longer worthy of being called your son. Please, take me on as a hired servant.'"
We'll work for purpose. We'll work for purpose. Hey, you got some purpose? Man. We'll work for purpose. You got some purpose? Hey, ma'am, do you have some purpose? We'll work for purpose. Man, ain't nobody got no purpose for me. It's been tough. Man, it's been a real hard journey. I know last time I saw you guys, I was balling out of control. Things have really gotten worse. It's important to understand, I've learned this lesson. It don't take long for things to go bad. And it all started with one bad decision, leaving my father's house. I'll be frank, I thought everything was going to be cool. I thought it was going to be all right. I mean, I had the perfect plan. I had the perfect strategy. And as I told you before, I was just tired of hanging around my father's house. I wanted to be my own man. I wanted to step out and do my own thing. So I made a decision because I wanted it now. I got impatient. I told my father, "Give me mine so I can go and do my own thing." And I found myself, guys, in a far country. And I ain't gonna front, it started off well. Success was going good for me. It was going like I was balling out of control. It seemed as if money was just going to continue to come in. But the truth of the matter is I had to learn some hard lessons. That you can start off successful, but that doesn't mean it's going to stay successful. And I wrestled with that, and that's what happened. And I would tell you that was my problem. I found myself in that far country. Because I believed that the farther I got away from my father, I'll be all right. I can stand on my own 2 feet. I can do what I need to do. But I will admit to you, it didn't work out just as I planned. Because the farther I got away from the father, guess what? The diminished his voice got in my life. And I started letting the people chatter into my ears. I started letting success get to my head. And what I didn't realize is that when there is distance between you and the Father, that's when dysfunction comes in your life. Because I got out of step, because I decided to do my own thing, guess what happened? In that far country, I had to learn some horrible and yet some real transformative lessons. I need you to understand this today, and I'm hoping that you're not like me, but I got a sneaky suspicion that some of y'all have been in that far country. See, the far country just ain't about a physical space. It can also be your mentality. You ain't got to be far from the Father physically, but you can be far in your mind. You can be far in your spirit, far in your emotions. Oh, don't judge me too harshly. You might be in a far country sitting in the sanctuary or even online. And I had to learn something about this far country that really got me to this place. I went from Da Vinci to now rags because I learned that when you get away from the Father, you're going to face some famines and you're going to settle for some pig pens. See, don't get it twisted. I hope you're not like me. Don't allow the illusion of the far country make you think that it's the best thing you can do, because that far country can show you some things. That far country can grow you up and mature you in ways that honestly you're perhaps unprepared for. And that's what I encountered in that far country. I was wilding out, doing my thing. I didn't think that money would stop. I thought this was my season, this was my time. I was impatient. I feel like I could do it better than the Father, only to find out that because I didn't manage it correctly, wasn't a good steward of what I had, I ran into a famine. Here's the crazy thing. I need you to understand why this is important, because famines come into our lives. And I don't care who you are. Listen, take me for example. I thought I had everything going, but a famine showed up. And don't you ever think that you're too big or too mature or too saved. You too can run into some famines. And I had some famines that literally wiped me out. Just in case those watching us on Global need to hear this today, don't ever get so high-minded you don't think that you won't succumb to some famines. I know we have these storms and those things, but let me tell you some of the famines I had to learn in the far country. First of all, there was this famine called irrational decisions. Man, I knew better, but I started making some dumb decisions. Listen, the Father had already told me how to get things in order. He told me how to make sure that I do what I do. He told me how to manage my stuff. I mean, I knew the order. I knew how to honor God. I knew how to make sure I saved. But y'all, when I got in that far country, I lost my mind. I started investing in things I knew I shouldn't have invested in. Irrational decision. Y'all, I'm going to tell you, I co-signed for somebody that I barely even knew. Rational decision. Here's what else is crazy. I end up getting in relationships I knew I didn't need to be in them relationships. Irrational decision. Because one of the things that happens when you're in a far country, you lose your everlasting mind. And I wonder who in here today can be honest and testify and say, listen, I feel you. Because Lord knows I made some dumb decisions. Oh, I know you ain't going to say it out loud, because you want people sitting next to you. You want the folk that are following you and see you online to assume that you make all the right decisions. I wish someone to be honest and say, no, you sit next to somebody that has done some dumb stuff. I made some dumb decisions with my finances. I made some dumb decisions in my family. I don't know what in the world was I thinking. And if you'll be honest, that irrational decision is a famine that can deplete you. But it wasn't just irrational decisions that got me, guys, but also I had to be honest, I was irresponsible in my domain. See, here's the thing that got me going. Let me tell you, one of my things that happened to me is I assumed that when I got into the far country, it was all about me. Listen, my whole aim was to make me better. It was all about me, myself, and I. That's all I was concerned about. But what I did not understand is that I had people I was connected to. And what got me was that my irrational decisions affected them as well. I thought that I could just do it on my own. I thought I could stand on my own, not realizing that things that I did, stuff that I thought about, things that I got involved in would affect those who were connected to me. And I know you don't think about it, but maybe that's why I'm here today, to be your conscience and to challenge you. Because every decision don't just affect you. And I believe there's someone that knows about that famine, because you didn't think that it would be anything, but now that decision has affected your family. That decision has affected your marriage, and that decision has affected you and your kids. Oh, I know you ain't going to say it out loud, but that decision affected how they view you on your job. One thing that I wrestle with is that I didn't realize that one decision would affect another. And I know we don't like to talk about it, and that's something I didn't want to face, because the reality is I realized decisions have consequences. They do. I thought I could ride some stuff out, but it ended up costing me. It cost me so much. I mean, have you ever had to look in the eyes of a loved one because of a decision you made? Have you ever had to see someone cry because of something you did? The more I tried to get it right, the more I made it worse. I read an article while I was sitting there on the side of the stoop. I read an article that they recently just came out with a study, y'all, that says chemicals used to straighten your hair can give you cancer. That thing messed me up. The thing you use to try to straighten it could kill you. Isn't that like life? The stuff you try to straighten out yourself can be the very thing that kills you. And I didn't realize that famine was going to get me. This irrational decision, how dumb could I be? This irresponsible domain. I didn't realize that it was going to affect the people closest to me, but also that third famine got me, my irreverent devotion. Because here's the thing that I didn't understand. You know what? I ain't going to front. I could take losing money because I felt I could get my money back. I thought I had the mindset and the business acumen that I could do what I needed to do. But what I didn't take for granted is that famine is also, it's not just a lack of resources, but can be a lack of relationships. Can I be honest with you? Because see, when things going wrong, you make everybody an enemy. Because it couldn't be my fault. And so I started projecting. And here's the crazy thing, the people that I needed close to me is the ones I ran off. Because one of the things that happens is that you have a famine that makes you lose those who are closest to you. I ain't gonna front, I took some people's relationship in my life for granted. I thought they'll always be there, not realizing that just like a plant, you got to make sure that you cultivate those relationships. But I got so selfish in my far country, and I started only thinking about me. And when you only think about you, guess what happens? Those relationships, those situations that you don't water will eventually die. And the people that was down for me, I'm the main one that pushed them away. Because I didn't want to deal with me. Decided that I wanted to push them away, not realizing that at some point I would get to the point where I would miss them. I used to play golf, guys, and here's the crazy thing. When I would play golf, those who play golf know something called the ball marker. Ball marker is what you use. It's an important part of your golfing equipment because it sets the mark of the ball if you're going to putt on the green. Well, I'll never forget, I was going golfing with some guys that perhaps y'all know here at this church, and we was riding. I got to one green. Come to find out, guys, I lost my ball marker. I tried to feel on myself, and what I realized, guys, is that the pants I wore that day had shallow pockets. So I put what I deemed to be valuable in something shallow. And because I put it in something shallow, I lost it. And I know you don't think about it. And I know it's not something you think, because you think that they're going to always be there. And you assume that they're always going to hold you down because y'all been rolling together for a long time. But put them in a shallow pocket if you want to. You find out, like I found out, they'll leave. And you're lost, and you don't know how to get them back. I need you to hear me today that this far country, I faced a famine that robbed me, that stripped me. And if you're not careful, if you mismanage that far country, because the far country ain't meant for you to be your best, it's meant to take you to your worst. Because there is no way you can succeed away from the Father. But it wasn't just the famine that got me, guys. Things got so bad that I ended up having to settle for a pig pen. See, I know. You think you know my story, but you don't really know my story. See, I come from a prominent Jewish family. And, we hang on to our kosher beliefs. And guys, I try everything to find some job because once I hit the bottom, once the money ran down, once the friends walked away, I was by myself. And so I had to figure out how to do it. I was on the side of the road trying to find purpose anywhere I could. And guys, here's the craziest thing. The only thing that was offering was a Gentile pig farmer. Now, you got to understand why that's crazy. Because I'm Jew, we don't mess with Gentiles, and we don't deal with pigs. But I have no other choice. So I ended up having to take a job at a pig pen. A Jewish boy working for a Gentile, working in a pig pen. Because when you're in a far country, you would oftentimes settle for things that are less than who you are. I can already tell you're judging me. But can I ask you a question? What pig pens are you settling for? I felt at that moment I had no more options. That's all that I had was pig pens. And the reason I'm here today to tell you is that not only are there famines in that far country, but there are pig pens. And someone today knows what it is to be in a pig pen. Oh, you ain't gonna say it out loud, but you on a pig pen job. You in a pig pen relationship. You making pig pen decisions. Because whenever you settle for anything less than who you are, it's a pig pen. When you settle for anything that's less than your value, pig pen. When you settle for anything that is beneath your status and stature in God, pig pen. Oh, I can see y'all judging me. I can already tell the comments online. I know that's going to go viral. Look at him. He think he's that. But listen, why are you judging me in my pig pen? Where are you? That's who I am, in my pig pen. While I was in my pig pen, just trying to make ends meet, just trying to do it, because it's the only place that I could settle for. I had to learn some things in that pig pen. First of all, guys, this pig pen is repulsive. See, you got to understand why it's so crazy, because the pig pen, there's two things that I had to become friendly with: snouts and slop. See, that's all that's in the pig pen is snouts and slops. Here's the crazy thing. My only friends in the pig pen was pigs. Now, I know you still don't know why we have a problem with pigs, but most of y'all don't even realize why people consider pigs unclean. One of the reasons pigs are unclean, because if you were to cut them, they don't bleed, they pus. Pigs don't even sweat. They're probably the nastiest animals in the world. And you still eating your bacon. Your pig feet. And I can already tell, chitlins. But that's what I had around me was snouts, pigs. Pigs only deal with mud. They make their living in the mud. They are dirt dwellers. They hang out in messy places. And because I'm hanging with pigs, I did what they did. So I began to be like them and find myself in some mess. See, because pigs always find mess. Create the mess, pig will be there. And I know you ain't going to say it, and I understand, I'm with you, but if you always in mess, then that's pig. Because all they could talk about was mess. That's all they were attracted to was mess. And so because I hung with them, I just became messy too. And so we just talked about messy stuff. We hung out in messy places. We did messy things because that's what you do in the pig pen. But it wasn't just mess, y'all, but check this out. I started liking the slop. Now, I ain't gonna front. When I first started, I didn't like it. It repulsed me. But if you're around something long enough, you'll start to tolerate it. And every day I kept going in the pig pen, every day I kept rocking in the pig pen, I started to get numb to it. What was repulsive to me at first, I began to tolerate. And the more you tolerate it, you start to desire it. Now, I ain't gonna front. When I first got in there, don't y'all judge me harshly. I thought that there is no way you could like slop. But as I kept staying around it, and I saw they liked it, and I wanted to be accepted by them, I started to give me a little piece of that. What started as a little piece of slop moved into an appetizer. Appetizer moved into an entree. Then it came in 3 meals of slop a day. To the point, y'all, I couldn't get enough of what I hated in the beginning. See, at some point, you can tell you're in the pig pen based around who you are, who you hang around, and what you desire. And I can already tell, listen, I'm falling and I ain't even rocking, but I know you saying that ain't me, but what slop do you want? What slop are you desiring? This pig pen was repulsive, but I tolerated it. Also, can I be honest? This pig pen also was restrictive. But so much I could do. And I know you're assuming that this pig pen, when I talk about restrictive, you're considering it based upon the signs of this pig pen. But what made it more restrictive is not just the size, but the fact that it had me enslaved. See, let me tell you what restricted me more than these barriers and what restricted me more than the little piece of land that I could operate in. I became enslaved to some things. The first thing I got enslaved to, the first thing I got restricted with is my hunger. Because you can convince yourself in the pig pen that this is all you got. So because I needed to eat and I needed to make sure my desires were satiated, I was willing to consume anything in order to satisfy that hunger. I moved from thinking with my mind to thinking with my stomach. I began to be driven by my desires. If you're not careful, what are you hungering after? Listen, at my father's house, it was a hungering after righteousness. At my father's house, it was the good things of life. But now in the pig pen, everything looked good. And I thought if I could just feel my stomach, it was simply about this bare desire to feed my hunger. What basic hunger are you feeding? If you be around pig pens long enough, you'll become enslaved to it. But can I also be honest with you? It wasn't just my hunger that enslaved me. I was also enslaved by my fear. See, I was glued to a man, a Gentile, and he began to impress upon me that I was never going to be anything more than what I was in the pig pen. I had a fear I lived with. I assumed this was all I could be. And so fear began to keep me incarcerated. Here's the crazy thing, guys. Even when I wasn't in the pig pen, I was still in the pig pen. I used to try to go put on my clothes. You know, I had a couple things still left. But man, people only knew me as that pig pen boy. I would fill out applications and I would try to do something and they would say, ain't you that boy that's in that pig pen? I got labeled. And that label caused some doors to be closed and opportunities to shut down. To the point I started to embody my disappointment. And I started to live in fear. And I said to myself, listen, I guess this is all I can be for a season. It's all I'm worthy of. And for a season, guys, I began to put my value in the place that I was residing. For a season, I didn't think that I could do anything else but live in a pig pen. While I was there, things were getting worse and horrible. I was repulsed from these snouts and slop. I was enslaved. And this went on for quite a little bit of time. I woke up thinking about the pig pen. Mud under my nails. Here's the crazy thing. The more I scrubbed, I couldn't get that pig pen smell out of my clothes. That's where I was, in the pig pen. Until I finally hit rock bottom. And y'all, a crazy thing happened. I came to myself. Now, I know that ain't going to be revelatory for you, but it was in my worst moment that I had the courage to talk to myself. See, before the pig pen, can I be honest with you? I wasn't always real with myself. I still try to tell myself it's going to be cool. You got it. You the man. Lying to myself. But until I hit rock bottom, I finally had to come to Jesus meeting with myself. See, let me tell you something. I've learned this, and I know you ain't going to get it, but it really blessed me. The most riveting and transformative conversation you'll have is with yourself. And until you can be honest with yourself, and still you can be real with yourself, and still you can be transparent with yourself, I had to talk to myself, and I began, y'all, let me tell you something. I was at that rock bottom. I was in the midst of my misery until all of a sudden, in the midst of my misery, with all these opportunities gone, doors closed, windows closed, my misery birthed memories. And I started looking at myself, and I started thinking, you know what? I had a better life in my Father's house. And so I thinking to myself, you know what? I dress better in my Father's house. I started thinking to myself, I had better people around me in my Father's house. There was something about the pig pen that made me remember how good I had it in the Father's house. And I don't know who needs to hear this, but sometimes God will exhaust every opportunity, close every door, take you to the bottom, only to make you go back to where you started from. It's crazy, guys. In Switzerland, they were getting ready to open up a brand new prison facility, but they needed to try it out. So they asked some volunteers to come, and they say, listen, we'll allow you to live in the prison, live prison life as a volunteer. Do y'all know 800 people signed up to volunteer in this brand new prison facility? They signed up to sleep on the beds, to eat the food, to live the regimented schedule. They decided on their own free will to be in prison. But there was a caveat. They said, we knew some of y'all couldn't take it, so they gave each person their own password. If things got too hard, if things got too difficult, if they figured out, you know what, this ain't for me, if they give the word, that password they receive, they can get out of jail. No issues, no problems. They can be released from the prison. See, y'all laughing at those people who signed up as volunteers for the prison, but there's some stuff you volunteered to do as well. Come on, let's be honest. You signed up to volunteer for the pig pen. You signed up to volunteer, but I'm grateful that the Father still gives us a password and lets us know you don't have to stay in it any longer. That's what I made up my mind. I said, you know what? I done hit the worst that I could hit. I'm at the bottom, but I made up my mind. I don't have to stay here, because while I was in the pig pen, I started having conversation, and I said, you know what? It's better to be a servant in my Father's house than to be a slave in the pig pen. So y'all, guess what I did? I gave my notice, and I told that dude I'm out. Why? Because I realized at some point I'm better than that pig pen. Oh, I wish somebody could hear me today because that's how I felt. That's where I'm at right now. That's where I'm going right now. I've endured my famines. I've endured my pig pens. There have been some things that I wish I could do over, but what I am appreciative of, listen, I don't even know, but I'm hoping because when I think back where I came from, when I think about how good I had it, when I think about the things that came, I said to myself, let me get back to the Father's house. So guys, I don't know what's going to happen, and I've just made up my mind. I'm not sure if the Father's going to take me back, but y'all, I got to get back to the Father's house. I done had enough of this far country. I've had enough trying to do it on my own. Even if the Father just puts me in an outhouse, that'll be cool with me. Why? Because I realize there are better benefits at the Father's house. There are better opportunities at the Father's house. There is better things at the Father's house. And I need you to understand, this is going to be the last time you see me like this. And sometimes you need a far country to make you appreciate the Father's house. What I need you to understand, guys, I'm in such a rush, y'all. Listen, I got to get up out of here because I got to make this trip back. It was a long journey to the Father's house, and I can already tell y'all laughing at me. I ain't even going to take a shower. I'm going to go dirty. I'm going to go smelling like pig. It's cool because I just hope that the Father still loves me. I just hope that in spite of all I got on and all the things that I've been wrestling with, all my experiences that brought me to this place, can I be honest with you? I ain't going to cut those experiences out. I hated going through them, but they made me appreciate more what the Father's house could represent. And I don't know who needs to hear this, and I know it's hard sometimes, but sometimes you need to go through the school of hard knocks. Sometimes you need some famines, and sometimes you need some pig pens because those are the things that teach you stuff. Y'all, I got to roll. I think purpose is at Father's house. I got to get out of here. If you don't know anything else, if you hear nothing else about my story, just know I believe this. I'm better than this.